Okay. Looks like we are live. Yo, 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 what is good, YouTube? This is your boy Lincoln Clay coming back at you with another live stream. Do yourself a favor and do me a favor as well and hit the like button. Help spread my content to a wider audience. I would appreciate it. And make sure you hit the bell icon so you can stay notified when I put out new content. I would appreciate that as well. If you are a new subscriber to the channel, welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy the content. And tonight we have a special edition of the Lincoln Show. And as promised, our guest was able to work it out. So here we are. My guest this evening. I'm a big fan of his of the podcast that he's in. He's been in numerous podcasts. He's been in the Roundtable podcast with me. He's been in Ryan's podcast with me. I believe he's been in podcasts with me with Sick Humor TV, and I absolutely love this guy's outlook on things. He is from Canada, and they call him Bear, so I'd like to think of him as the Canadian grizzly bear. I am speaking of none other than Fatal Mephisto. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you.
Go ahead, intro.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on your show, man. I've been actually looking forward to this. I apologize that we couldn't do it yesterday, but I definitely am excited to be here. Fatal Mephisto is actually what people know me by now, but I used to be known as Bear Hugger 29. We'll get into that a little bit later on. I'm pretty sure we'll talk about that a little bit later on in this episode. But yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, all right. What's up, Ian? What's up? Sit back and relax, Ian. You're gonna be in for a great show this evening. The comment section is open. Everyone else, feel free to chime in, and I'll answer the questions as best I can, or I will pass the question on to Fatal and see how he wants to answer it. Let's get right to it. So my first question for you is I understand you do a lot of stuff on Twitter. So what do you prefer, Twitter or YouTube?
Twitter, just for a quick fix, if that makes any logical sense. Because since you're only limited to uploading a video of no more, I think it's 2 minutes and 20 seconds, I believe it is on Twitch or on Twitter. Sorry. I used to be big with YouTube. And I really love the YouTube. Well, I did. Sorry, I should say. Me personally, though, I prefer doing all my stuff on Twitch. I just have more freedom over there, and I have more control over my chat room compared to YouTube itself. But Twitter lately, though, I've actually been enjoying Twitter because I want to actually see if I can start a trend on Twitter with the random video uploads that I've been doing, especially those news quickies that I've been uploading the last couple of days. And I think a lot of people are definitely enjoying those. But as it stands, Twitter and Twitch as it stands.
Okay. Myself, actually, as far as being a YouTube content creator, I'm kind of new to this stuff. So I had stayed away from Twitter for quite a long time because I wasn't exactly a fan of social media, people throwing all the drama out there and stuff like that. You got enough of that stuff on Facebook. So I had no interest in getting involved with Twitter until King Thrash told everybody in the roundtable, make sure you have a Twitter account because it would be much easier to send out the invites for the Roundtable podcast. So there you go. I finally have a Twitter account. I do see tweets and stuff like that, but as far as tweeting every day, I'm not that much involved in it. So pretty much I'm just doing enough to hang on right now.
Yeah, Twitter can definitely be a place that can easily persuade a lot of people to never actually be part of Twitter. I see that on the daily basis, but it is what it is. I mean, to be fair, you kind of get that everywhere you go, regardless of where you go.
That's true. Evo, how you doing, brother? Welcome to the show. Thanks for checking in. We got a great show today. We have Fatal Mephisto here. This is going to be a great show. This is definitely one of the persons that once I came up with the idea of the Lincoln Show, I definitely wanted him on the show because it's always interesting to hear his thoughts. So, Fatal, from what I understand, you're not very active on YouTube. Is that a reason? Is there a reason for that?
As far as me being a content creator, I was on YouTube since I think I had my original account. It was open, I think, since 2012, but I wasn't really active until around 2014, late 2013. I loved it at first. I started my channel off as more along the lines of a Nintendo centric, is what a lot of people would label my channel is when I first came into the YouTube scene. At first, I enjoyed making my content, but what really killed it for me, and this is not really so much of a YouTube thing, this is more of an issue that I hung around with the individuals that led to my dismissal of YouTube, to say the least. I wanted to come back, but I mean, to be fair, I mean, the way YouTube is structured now and the way Google owns it and the way Google has implemented a lot of their BS behind their new restructuring of YouTube, I don't like the fact that people can sit there and have one email and make 50 billion accounts in the snap of a finger and then come right back into your chat like nothing happened. So that kind of makes banning people or timing out people, you know, kind of irrelevant, if that makes sense. But truth be told, there was a lot of drama that happened with a couple individuals that I actually became good friends with back in 2015. And it was pretty much basically a nightmare trend from there on in going forward. Eventually, we all made our peace and whatever you want to call it. But it wasn't until I want to say about August of last year when I woke up and I was like, you know what, man? Yeah, I think it's time for me to move on. It's time for me to step down my throne on YouTube and go somewhere else. And that's exactly what I did. I woke up, didn't even hesitate. I just deleted my actual original channel and just called it a day. And it's funny because even though that's not technically the right thing to do, to leave my fans hanging dry like that, but all the people that did give a shit about my content, excuse my language, I definitely informed those people, the one that were like loyal to always being in my streams all the time, always leaving comments or whatever you want to call it. But the majority of the people that I had that were subscribed to me, which at the time, I think when I left, it was around close to almost hitting that 3,000 marker almost.
Wow.
If I remember correctly. And it wasn't worth the amount of stress that I was partaking in, because I wasn't like, I always had that mentality of like starting up a show or a podcast and then having to sit there and deal with trolls in my comment section or in my live chat constantly. You know what I mean? Even though I had my moderators there, but even that was getting a little too cumbersome for them. So it just made it a lot more easier for me just to say, you know what, F it, I'm out. I'm going over to Twitch. I have more quality control over there. I can actually do a lot more things over there. And for the most part, I'm actually enjoying it. So now I'm just a person that just comes on and just supports other people's channels and talk with other people. But I'll never be another content creator on YouTube again, especially with the direction that YouTube is going now, where they don't care about content creators anymore. And they're making it harder for new people to come into the world of YouTube now. So that's the main reason why I wanted to give it up, man. It was just mainly the fact that I just got tired of the community treating everybody like shit and treating me like garbage over ridiculous, ludicrous crap. But on top of that too, as well, the main reason why I did leave though was because I don't like the direction that YouTube is going as far as content creators.
See, that's really unfortunate that you had a falling out with some friends back in the day, however you like to put it. Myself, I hope that I don't experience the trolling in the comment section, but given the content of my videos and my live streams, with the PlayStation being my preferred platform, I'm sure it is coming sooner or later. It's just in my case, I think it's just a matter of if my channel grows to the point where I'm known and then my content gets out, then that's what I expected to start. But I hope it never gets there, though.
I hope so too. I hope so too. I think it was just, for me, it was bad timing. I would definitely say that it was definitely bad timing. I got involved with a lot of individuals that had a falling out with another individual, and then they threw me into the mix of it because my loyalty to this individual that I was good friends with, whatever you want to call it, and that kind of bleeded over to me, and it was a train wreck. It was a train wreck.
That's unfortunate. Titanfall Princess, thank you very much for the sub. Thank you for the like. I have seen a few of your live streams as well. It's pretty good stuff. And again, thanks. Let me see here. It's a shame you went through it on Fatal, because, you know, I used to watch the Canuck show. Yo, Eric, how you doing, my man?
There is one thing I will add, just so that everybody is aware of this.
Sure.
And this is me not making my comeback to YouTube or anything crap like that, because since I'm not a Twitch Prime member, so a lot of my uploads from my live streams, my podcast, they don't permanently stay on Twitch. So what I've done is every episode that I do now from every game live stream that I do, and of course my Canuck Gamers podcast will be uploaded to this channel, the channel that I'm currently on right now. But all videos will be unlisted, and I will give the link exclusively to people who I enjoy talking to. So people like you, Titanfall, and many of the people that I enjoy that want to see that content, because I only have, I think it's like 20 days before my video gets taken down. So there's a lot of episodes that I had that were extremely well done. It's just due to the fact that I wasn't a Twitch Prime member, those videos are now.
Okay.
So it just gonna be makes it easier for me, but all videos will be unlisted. They're not gonna be public. So if you ever want to see like the latest episode of the actual of the Canuck Gamer podcast, just let me know and I'll give you the YouTube link. Not a problem at all.
Oh, absolutely. Well, once we conclude this podcast, I definitely want to be pointed in that direction. I would appreciate that. Ben Taylor, how you doing, bro? Thanks for watching the show. Let's see here. What is your preferred platform?
My preferred platform. Ooh, this might be a tricky one. As it stands right now, since I have two, neither are my preferred platform because I enjoy both simultaneously. But if I had no choice but to choose, probably would definitely say the PS4, given the fact that the majority of the games that I will be playing now on there, outside from the amazing library of PlayStation IPs, is the third-party content.
Okay, cool. Definitely. The PS4 is my preferred platform. I definitely got some PS4 related questions that we'll get to here shortly.
Yep.
But what did you think of the latest episode of Inside Xbox, and what do you think of the series as a whole?
What did I think of the newest installment of Inside Xbox? First and foremost, it was very shallow and mediocre yet again, like it was for last month's episode. However, the concept behind it is something that's technically not new. It's just more done up in a longer segment instead of a 10 to 15 minute segment like it was last generation. Going into these episodes, I don't really expect to see or hear a lot of new announcements, even though that is something that a lot of us, I'm sure you think the same too as well, that we want to see Microsoft come out and actually advocate for new stuff and show off new stuff that we haven't seen yet. I don't expect to hear or see any of that until we get to probably into June's episode, month before E3 or leading into E3. I think we'll definitely start to see a few little hints and little things here and there. But as far as like it being every month, very, very doubtful. Because the whole entire concept and the premise behind what Inside Xbox is exactly that of what they did last generation on the 360, and almost similar to what the Pulse was on the PSN network last gen. Just despite the fact that it's an hour and a half of boring bullshit, we can all be honest with that. I firmly believe that each episode should be no more than 30 to 45 minutes tops. And but that's just my little take on it.
I totally agree. If Microsoft is trying to hold any of the cards closer to the chest to try to save some of this stuff for E3, maybe in the next episode of Inside Xbox, they probably better give their fan base a little tidbit. Recent events suggest that the ship over there is becoming very unstable.
Yes.
And they're probably going to have a widespread mutiny on their hands if they don't do something pretty quick.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's see here. We got a question in the comments. Eric Arazo, what is your opinion about requiring Nintendo Switch users to sign up for Xbox Live to play online for Minecraft?
Yes. Yes, I heard about that.
What do you think about that?
I think it's well, first and foremost, I have to give a big shout out to my buddy Dreadhead, aka Dooley, because he actually predicted this was going to happen a long time ago, back when Microsoft came out and touted the whole entire crossplay stuff. I didn't think it was going to be a thing. I didn't think Microsoft was going to eventually lead into that sort of platform, but I definitely was wrong on that aspect. Me personally, I think it's BS. But I don't know, it just seems a little bit off-putting to me when I heard about Microsoft incorporating achievements for the Switch version of Minecraft, and then with this information coming out there as of yesterday too as well, about how you have to sign up for Xbox Live in order to be able to play the online portion of Minecraft in a future update. I don't know how Nintendo fans are going to react to that. I think some of them will do it, that people that do own the Xbox or do have Windows 10 on their PC, if they do even have an actual legit Microsoft account. But I think there's going to be a lot of other people out there that just own a Nintendo console that are not going to do that, but they might be forced into that, especially if they are fans of Minecraft on that platform. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how things go, man. It's definitely all going to boil down to what the Nintendo Switch crowd definitely has to say about it. To be honest,
Right. And so, Eric, to give you my take on your question, this is one of the reasons why I was not in favor of crossplay. First of all, Microsoft does not have an appetizing looking lineup to me that I would be willing to subscribe to an Xbox Live membership to play their games through my PlayStation or any other device. So, and not only that, in the case of PlayStation, I'm of the opinion that Sony would probably be best not to do the crossplay. I would not, if I was Sony, I definitely do not want my main competitor having a backdoor to my network, because I think, Microsoft can do some wicked stuff over the internet when they choose to.
And then that's also basically what Ben just said in the chat too as well. Like that's very, very the most plausible reason as to why Sony said no.
So I agree totally. So let's see here. From what I understand, I've heard you say it, but you're one of the people that genuinely likes Sea of Thieves. Are you still putting in a lot of hours on that game?
No, I haven't played it in over a week.
You get bored with the game, or just popped up?
Not so much the boredom factor. What pulled me away from the game was how long it takes to rank up once you get past a certain rank level, which in this case for me, when I got to rank 30, it literally felt like it was going to take like literally 2 to 3 days of nonstop playing just to get one rank. And to me, that's kind of BS. So that's the main reason why I quit playing. I still advocate the game. I love the game for what it is. And speaking of actual content, actually, Rare put out a video there. I believe it was late last night. Their content plans. So I went ahead and I watched that. And like I told people in previous podcasts back when I was actually still playing the game legitimately, I told people that content was going to come before the 3-month plan that they originally had. And sure enough, I was right, because the first update's coming out next month for the month of May. And the way they actually broke it down and designed it is actually kind of clever. To give you an example is, like when you play a game online and like say you're playing Destiny or any other online centric service type kind of game. And when they usually have like weekly events, those weekly events come and go and that's it. And you don't see them for a long ass time. And unless like they bring it back with fan service perspective wise.
Right.
Rare is doing something similar to that, but everything they do from weekly events to like full-on events are actually going to be permanent, meaning that even when the event's done, everything that's still there from mechanics to items to enemies and so on and so forth are still going to be there permanently. They're not going to go anywhere at all, period, that's how they're planning on stretching out their content throughout the course of their roadmap, which I'm totally fine with that, to be honest. It's not, I would say that, I mean, they could do it in many different ways. But I think this way here would be better, because after their May content update and every week after that is going to be something else they're going to be slowly adding into the game leading up to the next big event, which is just going to be like the next piece of content, which I kind of dig that, because at the end of the day, for a game like Sea of Thieves, it has to evolve in its own way. I'm really glad they're taking that route, because instead of waiting 1 month and then you have to wait another 3 or 4 months to get that next big update, at least this way here, the kind of like they're adding stuff in slowly throughout each week, but as little tiny little events. But it's like they're adding in like new AI or new ship types, for example. That's one of the things they're adding in for the roadmap in the summer update. But on top of that too, as well, like for the weekly updates in and of itself, they're going to be adding out like little small things that's going to alleviate to a theme leading into the big next update too, as well. So like new mechanics and other things. My only the one thing though I will say when I watched that video was is, even though they didn't talk about it, they did allude to it though, that there will be adding more stuff to alleviate the boredom of endgame content. That's one of the things they said they are going to fix. But as a whole, that's the main reason why I stopped playing it. It wasn't the fact of the lack of content, even though I am fully aware of that, people. And I know that better than anybody else. But the thing of it is that it's the grind is the reason why I stopped playing it, because it just got to the point where I can only handle so much repetitiveness before I have to take a break. Which is why, like, when I play games, say like Dynasty Warriors or any game that has a very, very repetitive nature that's in your face, I have to play it in short bursts. Whereas with a game like Sea of Thieves, it's one of those games that, like, I loved it from the start and I advocate it. I even blatantly defended it at times. But as time goes on, you start to feel that notion of that grind kicking in, and then eventually that grind overtakes it, and you just get to the point where you just get tired of it. So until they actually lower down the requirements that it takes to get up to a next rank after past 30, which they already confirmed that in the next update they are, or the next month's update, they're already going to be doing that by doing specific theme events throughout the week that is going to help put a big boost in your rep for whatever you want to go with.
Right.
So I'm kind of okay with that. It's better than nothing, I guess. I'll take it for what it is. But as far as the content as a whole goes for each of these updates, that has yet to be seen. So I'll definitely need to make updates based on that too as well going forward. But I'm not officially done the game. I'm just taking a temporary break for a little while.
Okay, and that's an excellent answer, and that basically will lead into my next question. But before I get to my next question, although I have not played the game and I'm not really interested in playing the game, I am definitely curious as to see what's going to happen when they come out with the next update. Will it be a paid DLC? The people paid the whole $60 for the game. How will they be affected by it?
Rare confirmed in that same video that every single update and everything that's going to be on the roadmap is going to be free.
Okay.
Nothing is going to be charged. No paid DLC because they don't want players to be separated, which obviously makes sense. So I allude and applaud Rare for doing that.
I see. I think EA learned that lesson with the first Battlefront when they separated everyone with the paid DLC. They separated the user base, so they kept everybody together this time with Star Wars Battlefront 2. But they made up for it with the attempted microtransactions, or at least they were going to try to make up for it. Which I understand. I just got a flash from a YouTuber Young that I guess they are going to go ahead and implement those paid crystals come April 18th. So if you are playing Star Wars Battlefront and you are a microtransaction nut, you will get your crack cocaine coming up April 18th.
it's only for character costumes. There's no balancing. There's no different types of weapons you can only get through the crystals and whatnot. It's just all cosmetics now.
Okay, so there won't be they won't be trying to implement that pay to win.
Nope. Everybody's on even playing ground now. They finally got their shit together and they fixed that issue, and now it's just strictly cosmetics.
Okay, well, if they would have done that right from the start instead of being some greedy bastards, we wouldn't be here.
Yep, absolutely. And the other thing is also I find rather hilarious is the fact that the old classic Battlefront 2 is coming back thanks to the backwards compatibility for OG Xbox, and I'd rather play that because that's that game at the time, and it still is to this very given day a very, very good Star Wars game.
Absolutely. At some point, I'll get to my take on the older games and the backwards compatibility issue. So, are you in favor of Microsoft's game as a service direction?
Game Pass, yes. And the only reason why for it, before anybody sits there and raises an eyebrow, for me, someone who lives in Canada, where our prices for our games are through the fucking roof, thanks to our high end. Excuse my language, by the way. I don't know if are we let us swear.
No. Go ahead. That's the whole purpose of this one-on-one podcast. So you can be.
I wanted to make sure because this is your platform.
I absolutely. So. I want Fatal to be Fatal. Do not hold back. I know you have no filter. This is not the time to start using it.
All right. I just had to double check to make sure because this is your channel after all. So.
Not a problem. Yeah, I had Thrash on here, and he doesn't hold back, so okay. Not a problem.
Never mind then. So, wait, what was the question? Oh yeah, sorry, I lost train of thought. Read that question again.
I was asking you if you were in favor of Microsoft's game as a service direction, about them headed in that direction.
Okay, so Game Pass for me. I live in Canada, so I want people to understand. People that don't know me very well, people who do know, they may not be aware of this. Normally, people in the United States, they pay $59.99, $60 for a brand spanking new game. Over here in Canada, since our currency is so fucked up over here, I have to pay $79.99, which thankfully for Sony, I only have to pay an $80 flat rate. But if I were to go
let me interrupt you for a second. We got a comment from Titanfall Princess, and she says she wants the Savage Fatal. So don't hold back. Filthy, if all kind of doo-doo fall out of your mouth, don't worry about it.
All right, consider it done. So yeah, back to what I was saying as far as the prices go in Canada. Games over here in Canada are $79.99. And that's just for the base version. If it comes with collector's one, generally got to pay anywhere between $89 to $120, depending on the version that we're playing. I never get those versions because I always find that the content is not worth it for that price they're asking for outside maybe from the season pass, but I don't fuck with season passes anymore. I never have, never will. Unless they go free like Battlefront 1 did several months back, but fuck that game. But anyways, So thankfully on PlayStation for myself, I only have to pay fucking $8 flat rate. Sony does not charge me digitally wise on PSN. So thank fuck for that.
Excellent.
Microsoft, however, or if I were to go to Retail Rise right now, I would have to drop $90 after tax, $90 and like 60 some odd cents fucking after tax. And for me, or it's a blessing for me, especially me being a multi-console owner, it's going to save me money in the long run with all these new games going to Game Pass. So I don't have to worry about, for example, I would have went out and spent $60 or $90 on a game like Sea of Thieves. It's because that's how mental I am. But with me, and thank God that game going to Game Pass, I only had to pay $10 in order for me to be able to enjoy and play that game. So that way it gave me more opportunity with a service like that, at least when it comes to Game Pass only. I don't give a fuck about anything else that Microsoft does as far as their services goes, but Game Pass for me is beneficial for me because as a multi-console owner, especially with the way prices are in Canada, it's going to save me money in the long run, if I just say that. Because, I mean, it already has been, given the fact that I didn't have to buy Halo 5. I didn't have to buy Record, the Definitive Edition. I didn't have to buy Sunset Overdrive, Zoo Tycoon, fucking Scream Ride. None of that crap. All the games, all the actual exclusive content that's been on the console since pretty much basically from the get-go, all leading up to this very given day, I've already been enjoying those games via Game Pass. There's only been maybe, I want to say about maybe 3-4 games that I bought on Xbox, Rare Replay being one of them. Quantum Break being another one. And lastly, and I hate to admit this, but fuck, I'm going to say it anyways, Disneyland Adventures was the last one that I bought.
I see.
Yeah.
Myself, I don't really have a problem with the games as a service narrative, from a widespread perspective, because there's numerous entities out there moving in that direction. Ubisoft, EA. I guess there is a streaming service called Utomic. This on PC. This coming up with over 700 games. So I don't have a problem with that. But I have been leery of getting involved with Game Pass. For one, I do not think Microsoft has an appetizing lineup. Game Pass is composed of mostly 360 games, and if I wanted to play those games, I would have kept my 360. I had a modified 360, and I was burning my own games during that generation. So I had over 300 games that I did not pay for. So if I was still interested in playing 360 games, I would have hung on to that 360. Once the new console comes out, I move forward with technology, with the games, and therefore, so I'm not, that's where I feel on that. But we'll get a little more detailed into that later.
I mean, at the end of the day, Game Pass is just Microsoft's answer to what PS Now is. They just wanted to one-up Sony on that aspect by not making it a streaming service, even though their cloud technology thing is still in the works right now. But me personally, I don't have an issue with PS Now. My internet can easily handle it. I never get any actual issues with with PS Now. Outside from a little bit of button latency, but that tends to happen. And also shout out to Dreadhead, the guy that I was talking about earlier, when he talked about the whole aspect of what we were talking about before. So shout out to you there, Dreadhead.
Shout out Dreadhead. I'm sorry. I see you got the 34 within your name. So I'm like DR, I'm thinking it's an equation on the chalkboard from Albert Einstein. I didn't see that it was Dreadhead, so I'm very sorry for that. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for checking in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I give you props there, Dreadhead. You were right about the whole Xbox Live thing on the cross-platform shit like you're doing with Minecraft, dude. God damn, I hate when you're fucking right. But anyways, that's all Game Pass is. That's all Game Pass is. It's just the answer to Sony's PS Now. As far as what Microsoft's planning on doing the future-wise, as far as their streaming service crap, a lot of people tend to ignore the fact that a lot of people will never fuck with an actual gaming streaming service to begin with. Right. And Microsoft is going to fare no different. I mean, after all, this is Microsoft we're talking about, and anything that's Xbox related currently wise tends to get slammed through the fucking muck and hell and back. With that said, however, though, most people are looking at it from the aspect of how it's going to be on multiple platforms. But like I tell people before, it's like this is something that Microsoft had in plan since all the way back in 2014, like less than 6 months before or after the console launched. So this is really nothing new. It's just now people are worried about it because now it's starting to come to more sharper focus. And that makes sense. But I firmly believe that, you know, when Microsoft does come out with their next gen console, and hopefully they get a lot of their problems that plague this console, this generation, I really hope to God there's going to be incentive there, because there has to be incentive there in order for the console diehards that love anything that's Xbox brand related. They're going to want to keep those people in line. They're going to want to keep those people there, right? And I think by then what they're planning on doing is, this is just me speculating here, so don't take what I'm saying as legitimate facts, is I think when Microsoft does come out with certain games, I think a lot of these certain games are going to be strictly either put on Game Pass day and date, and also to as well keep it console specifically related for a certain amount of time until they actually put it up on their actual streaming service for their mobile devices, tablets, whatever the case may be, for people that want to play it. However, if they don't do something like that, then that is definitely what's really going to actually damage the actual brand. I mean, they're already doing that as it is right now, currently, right, especially with the lack of content, or exclusive content. Sorry, I should say. Let me correct that. So, but at the end of the day, as far as because everybody made a big deal about Microsoft releasing their games on PC. I've never been against that. I've always praised Microsoft for that. Not due to the fact that it doesn't give me a reason to have an Xbox, because that can differ to person. Me personally, I'm not big on PC. I can't afford a big top of the line PC. So therefore I have a reason to own an Xbox, which I'm glad that I do. But with that said, however, though, at the end of the day, Microsoft definitely has to have some form of incentive there for people that want to keep that core Xbox branded console owners in check, to make sure that they are going to want to run out and buy that system. But at the same time, you're also going to have to give them, it's more along the lines of insurance to keep a hold of their console, right, and not give them a reason to sell it 6 to 8 months later. Mm-hmm. So, but it's going to be really interesting to see where Microsoft's going to go. I mean, a lot of people are looking at it from a negative standpoint, but I think when Microsoft does finally break out and actually reveal their actual future plans, a lot of people are like, "Oh, okay, now I get it."
You must be psychic, because that definitely leads into my next question. But before I get to my next question, I'm talking to the chat. I've tried to say that to anybody who was willing to listen with an earshot, that Microsoft they are trying to do with Game Pass what they tried to do with the original Xbox One when it first launched. When the original Xbox One first launched, their aim was to go after everyone on the planet, mainly the casual gamers, because that is the biggest crowd. But it is tough to keep them. It is tough to keep them interested, because they have a casual mind. They function like casual people. They do not stay into the same thing, day in and day out. They'll play pool today and then go bowling next week. They won't do it week after week, because that's how the casual person thinks.
Yep.
So Microsoft tried to go after everybody with the Xbox One by making it an all-in-one media device. They tried to go after everybody, and that did not work. So they're trying it again with Game Pass, and with Game Pass, they are trying to go after every person on the planet again with Game Pass. Microsoft would sell Game Pass to aliens if it were possible. That's how much they're trying to sell Game Pass. So what they're trying to do, the way I put it this way, with the Xbox One, when it first launched, they tried to bring everyone to the Microsoft, into the Xbox ecosystem. They tried to bring everyone to Xbox. With Game Pass, they're doing the opposite. They're trying to take Game Pass to everyone else instead of trying to bring everyone to the Xbox brand. So that is how Microsoft intends to do it, by trying to get Game Pass on every device possible. If you have some kind of tracker inserted into your blood so the FBI can watch you, Microsoft wants to try to put Game Pass on that transistor within your bloodstream, because that's how much they want to try to sell it.
I'm glad that you said that, because so far the only thing that has been confirmed, at least from rumor standpoint, is that Microsoft is dibbling and dabbling right now with Game Pass to work functionality both wise on PC standpoint, which hopefully we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Because I mean, as of right now, there are emulators, we know about that and everything too as well. So I think Microsoft is trying to work on getting these 360 titles and other Xbox One titles that are on Game Pass to be able to function properly within the Windows 10 ecosystem, which makes sense, obviously. Now, as far as an actual putting Game Pass on, say, a phone or something like that, they're gonna have to pull out some magic trick in order to do it outside of from an actual streaming service perspective, which is why it makes sense to put a lot of like Game Pass via streaming service. Which again, at the same time, a lot of people won't fuck with that. I can't see, at least in my eyes, I don't see Game Pass ever going on the Switch. As far as a main stable service outside of being behind an actual streaming service, because the majority of those games that are on there, outside from 360 titles, but like Halo 5 would never run on the Switch.
No.
You know what I mean? So I think behind a streaming service, obviously, because it's not running on the hardware, it's just running through the actual your internet connection. But I mean, who knows? I mean, we'll definitely, it's going to be very interesting to see what this whole entire approach with Microsoft's going to be doing as far as branding out into going into more of a broader spectrum. Because I mean, at this point, if you really want to get down to nitty gritty of things, man, I kind of have to say I kind of really don't necessarily blame Microsoft for doing that. It's not because I don't want to see Microsoft succeed. It's because Microsoft is a company that will never, ever, ever trump Nintendo, and they never will ever touch fucking Sony. Last generation, that was a fluke. And the only reason why I'm saying that it was a fluke, because from what everybody tells me, and apparently this is a known actual thing, is that if Microsoft did count those Red Ring of Death consoles that they apparently fucking were selling and shit at the time,
right?
That's then. So if you were to take away that number alone, that number that you're left with at the end of that generation would easily be around like maybe less than 50 million.
Yeah.
So if it's less than 50 million, that's probably what the Xbox One is going to end up having by the time this console life cycle is done.
Definitely. I totally agree. If it were not for the situation with the Red Ring of Death and them, counting repair consoles as sales, you given those numbers, once those numbers have been readjusted, you would probably say that the PlayStation 3 actually kicked their ass that generation, even though they got off to a slow start. And then right here we got Dreadhead, who's saying no one is paying attention to the fact that the DRM or check-in. I totally agree. I think with a $10 a month service fee, it'll make you forget about the DRM real quick.
Well, DRM, okay, I don't have an issue with it because, I mean, obviously I don't have an issue with it because I'm full digital. Every game that I own is digital outside from Destiny 1, but I'm stuck with that game because no retail place will take it. So, I mean, I'm fully aware of that. It's something that I've embraced. It's something that doesn't bother me. I don't care when these games, like if I ever like, I mean, for example, PS3, I had a shit ton of games that I bought digitally over the last 2 years before that console bricked. I don't care that I lost all those games. I don't give a shit. However, though, as far as the check-in thing, I'm not quite sure what he means by that per se, because you don't have to have both gold or in order to be able to get access to Game Pass. If your gold expires, you can still play the games on your Game Pass. The only thing you won't be able to do is if it's a game that has multiplayer, you won't be able to play the multiplayer. You need gold for that, which makes sense, obviously, but you don't have to check in for anything. Like, I'm not really quite sure like what
I think he's referring to the beginning of the generation when they had the 24-hour check-in with the original Xbox One. I think that's what he was referring to. And you're right, Eric. Microsoft hasn't won any generation. And the 360 generation, when I was seeing when they were talking about their year-over-year growth every year and blah blah blah, they made it seem like they were talking about their global numbers when they were actually talking about the North American numbers.
Okay, as far as if Game Pass ever expires, and I agree with you on that, Dooley, but that's the same thing too as well, that if Microsoft were ever to shut down the Xbox Live service, which they have done before in the past on the OG Xbox, even though digital wasn't a thing back then, but metaphorically speaking wise, that even if Microsoft or even Sony for that matter, if the PS3, if the PlayStation 3's network were to ever shut down, whatever you want to call it, all those people that went digital lost all their shit. And that's why I think a lot of people that don't like the whole DRM aspect, and I totally can get behind that, and I totally understand that. Me personally, I don't care to have a collection of games, retail boxes and shit like that, because at the end of the day, developers are now going into these trends of finding ways to DRM your games, regardless if you buy digital or fucking retail.
Right. The physical disc doesn't mean anything anymore. They can still implement that DRM shit one way or the other.
Yeah, and Destiny's a prime example of that, whereas that game I can never get rid of because I'm stuck with that game now. No retail GameStop or even buy and sell or any pawn shops will not take that game because that game is completely invalid towards other customers because of that code that actually gives you all the access to everything in the game. And it's basically what these developers have found out is, or what they're doing is they're bringing back an old school case of what PC gamers did or PC games did back in the day. And that's the fact of CD keys, except CD keys became irrelevant when people just started finding ways to come up with key gens, whatever you want to call it, but you're not going to have that luxury of being able to do that from a console perspective.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. So Microsoft launched the Xbox One X this past November, and to me, it seems like backwards compatible games has been the biggest focus on the world's most powerful console. Would you agree?
Wait, the Xbox One X?
Yes.
Would I agree? From a console perspective, yes. Would I say that it's the end all be all? No.
Okay. Um, I came up with that question due to the recent episode of Inside Xbox, when it seemed like the first half an hour of the show was dedicated to the backwards compatibility, and and I've already expressed how I feel about backwards compatible game. It isn't it's a decent feature, but it's not something that's supposed to be to the forefront as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, I just want to put my 2 cents in on that.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that Microsoft is not putting in the forefront, even though it looks like they are. There is a very small team, and I mean a very small team, that actually are the ones that are responsible for that. That's nothing to do with like what Coalition is making, what any other developers making under Microsoft's head studios, but which is not a lot, by the way. With that said, however, the only reason why they're throwing it out there is not to say, oh, hey, we got this. This is something that will keep you guys occupied until E3 and whatever you want to call it. All they're doing is as an optional fucking means to play specific games, like old school games, which, to be fair, in this day and age, there's a lot of gamers out there that never got around to playing OG Xbox games. You know what I mean? Because remember, gaming this time around, since pretty much basically moving through last generation, is when gaming blew up in the mass market and became this huge phenomenon, bigger than Hollywood, right?
Right.
So whereas back then, a lot of gamers never had the luxury of doing that shit. I mean, like the fact that there are PS2 classics on PlayStation, and I love the fact too as well, and this is what Microsoft should be doing too as well, is putting achievements behind these games. A lot of people love achievements. People should deserve to get achievements, and I agree with Titanfall 100% on that aspect too as well. Like she was saying on our show yesterday, those Xbox One original games should have some form of achievement system intact there, because PlayStation's doing it with PS2 classics. Now I don't know if that's because it takes a while for those games to come out. I don't really freaking know how that works, but either way, me personally, I'm never going to look at backwards compatibility as something that Microsoft is going to tell front and center. It's just there because they want people to, to be able to enjoy the classic games that may not have never got a chance to touch an Xbox original in their life, which is why they're bringing back the Duke controller, which a lot of people look at as being stupid and weird. Which on me personally, I think it's fucking dumb, because I really don't know who the fuck would want to play with a Duke controller again.
Right, that big ugly thing.
Yeah, right. Although I will say though, that little video intro thing that plays on the controller, that shit is pretty lit. I like that, but outside the controller design, it's fucking horrendous. But moving that aside, though, I do feel that I think that they're not advocating it as a main centric thing that people should focus on, or they're not doing that as a promotional thing towards the X. They're just adding that extra spice and flavor for people that do have the X. Say, you know what? I never got a chance to play Star Wars, the original Star Wars Battlefront game. Fuck it. Let me see how it plays. Or I never got a chance to play Jade Empire or Morrowind, that kind of shit like that. Now, as far as 360 titles go, I'd rather have them come out with a decent library of backwards compatibility games and not remaster games and sell it to you at a full retail price like a lot of these games have. Like God of War 3, nobody fucking asked for that. Or Prototype 1 and 2, that came on fucking PSN out of nowhere as remasters. Nobody asked for it. And like, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, I don't care about a remaster. If you want to give me that game as far as something I can play as backwards compatibility wise, then I'll fucking take it. However, if they do the approach, like say what Sony did with was it with Bluehole? I think it was that did not Bluehole. I forget the companies that made Shadow of the Colossus remake.
Yeah, I think it was Blue.
Yeah.
It was Blue something. It was Bluehole, Blue Point, something like that.
Blue Point. I think it was Blue Point. I think Bluehole's for players unaware broken game.
I believe so.
But anyways, I love the idea of having BC because I don't have to worry about dishing out a whole lot of money, unless your name is Call of Duty. But outside from that, though, I mean, I'd rather go back and play, like, if I want to play these classic games, because everybody advocates, everybody hated remasters from the start of this generation, right? It wasn't that long ago. A couple years ago, everybody was like, oh my God, more remasters, more remasters. And Microsoft found a way to alleviate that problem, but just by allowing people to, if they already own the game on 360, it's like, why fucking waste money in having that developer come out with a remaster and then do it whatever you want to. Now they're actually enhancing this stuff for people that own the X. So it's a benefit for people that have the X. Layman terms, sure, fuck it. But it's better than actually fucking them wasting money on a full-on fucking upgraded version of a remaster that either nobody gives a fuck about or it's going to sell like Coda Candy garbage. So whatever.
Myself, I think the developers would probably stand a chance to generate some more revenue with
They
a
could.
remaster of a game. Now, to add on to the achievement thing that you were talking about, yes, I think that would be in an incentive to go back and play some of those games
Yeah,
with an
absolutely.
achievement system on those older games. But I think the problem with that is that it would require the developers to go back to a game that they have already moved on past and have no interest in going back into. I would be led to believe they would have to go through the game with a fine-tooth comb and decide where they're going to put these achievements at. So
which
it
makes
gives
a
me
lot
the
of
impression
sense.
that they would have to crack the game wide open again and find out where we're going to put the achievements. Put one here, put one there, and that would require them to go back to doing some work that they're not going to get paid for. So I don't think a lot of these developers have any interest in going back into these older games and putting achievements in these older games. But I still think that would be an added incentive to go back and play those games.
No, and you're absolutely right. And I think it also could very well be a logical reason as to why we're not seeing a whole slew of PS2 classics come out on the regular. Because, I remember like Sony has to go to these devs and be like, hey, Rockstar, we want to release Bully. We want to release your classic library like Vice City, GTA 3, and San Andreas and whatnot. But we want you to put achievements in there. So Sony's obviously going to, throw some money at Rockstar in order to do that, which to me is great. And I think Microsoft should do the same too as well. However, though, if Microsoft were to do nothing but that for like their classic games, it would literally take forever for these OG Xbox games to get released.
Mm-hmm.
They already are now. So
I totally agree. And with and with Microsoft putting 360 and the OG Xbox games, putting it on the big stage, as I would like to think of it, it seems like it would be Microsoft should all the more willing to throw some money at these developers to go back and have them put achievements in it.
Yes.
But I think I kind of feel like Microsoft is somewhat of a money for nothing company. So it seems to me like they want to try to find a way of having revenue without putting a lot of effort into it.
They definitely are. They definitely are for sure shy of spending money. But compared to last gen though, last gen Microsoft didn't give a fuck. They tried to get their hands on everything last gen, and they kind of did. And that's the thing. Like it's amazing to me to see so many people shun Microsoft this generation and say that they don't belong in this industry and blah 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 blah. But yet it was just no more than fucking 5 years ago when the 360 was still out, and that system was a phenomenal console, despite the Red Ring of Death bullshit, which we can all agree with. But they had the games last gen. Mm-hmm. They did, until Sony finally got their shit together and caught up, and they started releasing banger after banger,
right?
Which makes sense because Sony does that. They keep all their bangers until after the third year. And like again, shout out to Dreadhead, because we both talked about this a long time ago. We both said like Sony is going to release their bangers next year, and we said this back in I think it was 2015, early 2016, and all of a sudden E3 2016 comes around and pop, all these amazing games. Oh my god, PS4 is fucking amazing, blah 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 blah. And it's like, bitch, we already knew, because that's how Sony works. That's what Sony does.
Well, I was going with the flow when the generation started. So I was just playing what was
at that point.
I knew more games would be on the way, but holy smokes, I didn't know it would blow up like this.
Yeah, this is, I think by far, I mean, I could be wrong on this though, but I think by far this is definitely Sony's big break, I think, this time around. And look, I'm not saying that in the sense like they don't sell units. Fuck that. PS1 and PS2 were gigantic, enormous user base sellers. But what I'm saying is, as far as like the games that we're getting, you know what I mean? Like nobody fucking would have thought that we would ever see a remake or a classic remaster remake to say Crash again. Nobody saw that coming. We got that. Same with Spyro. Now we're getting that, even though it's multi-platform, but that's irrelevant. The point is that like from 2016 and 2017's E3 was like bang, 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 booty bang, like freaking ridiculous, man. It's just like, whoa. Like Sony, like we understand you're going balls to the walls here with your exclusives, man, but just chillax for a moment. Shit.
Hell, the way they put these exclusives out, it's not balls to the walls, it's balls through the wall.
Yeah, that's a better way of saying it. But on top of that too, as well, it's definitely killing Microsoft's momentum though too, as well. When let's be real, Microsoft has no momentum right now. I mean, unless for whatever fucking miracle, and this could very well happen. We still have a few years out to go before next generation kicks off. So if Microsoft wants to end the last couple of years with a bunch of big bangers and exclusive games, which we would all like to see. We don't know if it's ever going to happen, though. More than likely, probably never will. But just follow along with me here. You'll be able to see where I'm going with this. If Microsoft wants to pop out their own spectrum of the thing and start popping out some bangers themselves at this year's E3 and also at next year's E3, it's better than nothing at all. I mean, no one's going to want to sit there and deal with a console for another 2.5 to 3 more fucking years until the Xbox freaking 2000 or whatever they're going to call it there decides to drop. Microsoft needs to pop out something that's going to keep the rest of their user base, because people are switching left and right now with the recent, Spider-Man reveal and also fucking with God of War reviews. 95 people, 95. But at the end of the day, Microsoft has to do something. You know what I mean? And like Sick Humor said today on his show, he's really, really happy to see that Xbox fans are now tweeting Phil Spencer and say, bro, seriously, wake the fuck up. We need something here. You're killing us here. You know what I mean? And I really do feel that I think that this might be the year where Microsoft turns around and say, hey, look, motherfuckers, enough is enough. We get what you're saying. Pop, 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 pop. Here you go. So, I don't know. It's wishful thinking, but very doubtful.
I don't think it, I don't think it shouldn't have came to this point where
I agree. I agree. I agree.
Where they're sitting on the side of the road watching this Sony Ferrari go by. This is something that should have been addressed years ago.
Exactly.
So like it shouldn't have reached the breaking point. You know what I mean,
okay, look, to be fair, like it was like what, a 2-year gap? Like 2017 was bad. Like outside from Cuphead and Lucky's Tale that nobody gave a fuck about, there was nothing. Like Cuphead was like the best game for Microsoft throughout the whole entire course of 2017, which is incredibly disgustingly bad, even though Cuphead was an amazing stellar game, but that's a $20 game.
Right. And I think that's one of the reasons why the game sold so well. That game may not have sold so well if it would have been a $60 game. And what was the stop, which actually surprised me that Microsoft did not try to sell that game for $20, especially being that they sold Sea of Thieves for $20. Dude, I saw that too with Dread, and he said the Microsoft Xbox One is better than nothing. And that slogan is funny as fuck.
That needs to be their slogan. That needs to be their slogan, dude.
It really does. Now, you have used some adjectives and some colorful metaphors to describe Microsoft and the Xbox brand in the past. You've called them micro cock,
all the time.
Xbox 3 sucks balls, X twats. Is that the way you feel about Microsoft, or is that just Fatal Mephisto being Fatal Mephisto?
That's just me trying to bring out my comedic side. That's all that is. I do the same thing with PlayStation 2 as well, except PlayStation you can't really rhyme anything really well with the PlayStation because it's just fucking PlayStation.
I think it's hilarious though, because some of these names that you come out with, it seems like it came off the top of your head right then and there in a split second.
It does. It does. It's the same like God of Whores and shit like that. Gears of Whores. I do it all the time, but it's not there to be taken serious. Look, I troll people a lot, and I'm glad. Like sometimes I have to actually let people who I really, really like, I mess with, whatever you want to call it, around. I have to let them know, like, I just do that shit to get a rise out of people, but I don't mean any of that stuff. Like the other day when I was out there, trolling the Xbox fans about the God of War score, and then I would flip flop and turn around and start attacking the, been saying, hey, how does it feel, Sony ponies, that your game, God of War being a 94? Well, it's 95 now, but yesterday at the time it was 94. I'm like, how does it feel to get slapped down by a weaker hardware when Breath of the Wild, is a fucking 97? That game's cartoony. You know what I mean? And
right.
And whatever sticks. But at the same time, I never let it get it too far, because at the moment that I do, it's like, bro, I'm just relaxed. I'm just fucking around. You know what I mean? But these people know, well, I hope people do realize that I am buying God of War. I will be buying that game. Any game that I sit there and poke fun of, I always eventually buy, or I buy day one. And a lot of people, like Dreadhead, for example, like he saw through that shit almost immediately. But there's other people that I've known that I hung around with, that I hang around with him with, that still kind of not quite sure. But there's also a lot of people in this community too as well. I feel the exact same way. Like because everybody makes fun of me all the time, right, for like the games that I play.
Right.
So when I turn things around and I throw it back in their face about, like, how I think God of War is going to be overrated. Look, it's not going to be overrated. But I did that just to take the piss and see what people would say. And the reaction that I get never fucking ceases to amaze me. It's fucking amazing, dude. It's amazing.
Yeah. I guess one way or the other, whichever side of the fence you're on, mentioning God of War, Spider-Man, it doesn't take much to trigger whether it's positive or negative. So do you own an Xbox One X? And if so, do you feel you've got your money's worth out of the console?
I don't own the X. I only own the S.
Okay. I don't own the X either. My son kind of saved me from that because he wanted an Xbox One X for Christmas, and I kept the promise, and I got him the console for Christmas. And plus, I had my own motive for getting him that console because I wanted to do the comparison because I do have a PlayStation Pro. And so once I
Nice.
got it, I made my own comparisons. You know, I did a ghetto style out. You know, I had one hooked up to one TV and the other hooked up to the other TV in separate bedrooms. So I'm running back and forth between these rooms, you know, trying to see if I could see a difference with the naked eye. And for the most part, I did not. There was only a couple of games where I could see a difference with the naked eye. Therefore, I decided that console was not worth $500 to me, especially when I already have the PlayStation Pro.
For me personally, I had no desire to ever get a Pro or upgrade to a Pro or upgrade to an X. They don't benefit me at all, period. Even if I did have a 4K TV, it still would not, I don't care about resolution. Like you're talking to an individual that like I don't even care what a game looks like graphically wise. I can okay. To clarify that, I can easily let people know. I can easily compliment developers for how a game looks, you know, like Horizon Zero Dawn, The Order, or now with God of War. But that's not something that I look at, right? It's not, I mean, okay. That sounds kind of contradicting given the fact that you are looking at the game, so you are looking at it for what it is.
Right.
But it's something that I don't fixate on. It's something that I don't finesse over. You know what I mean? A lot of people tend to finesse over the graphic fidelity of a game. I care about the gameplay. The gameplay is what I see, is what I'm doing in the game. How do the mechanics work? How can I use these to my advantage? How can I have fun with these mechanics? That's what I look for in a lot of the game, which is why I'm very open with a lot of games that I play.
Yo, what's up, Sick?
What up, Sick? By the way, Sick, did you see my little tweet that I sent you there on Twitter, dude? Yeah, I know. I was having fun with you, buddy. With that said, however, though, I don't care about resolution. It's something that I never really give two shits for. Now, believe me, I know people always tell me it's like, well, you got to see this in 4K. You got to see this with HDR on. Frame rate is what matters to me. It's because that's what helps make your game maintain and play and have a smoother experience. I mean, you're talking to a guy who, when I first got this PC that I'm currently talking to you on right now, when I first got it from my ex, the first thing I did was I started playing a lot of games on PC, like classic ones and some newer ones that I can get around to playing, like Skyrim, for example. But I had to download some low-end texture mods in order to be able to actually work on my mod for that. But it wasn't until I got to around when I was playing Mass Effect 2. And I was running that bitch at 640 by 480 resolution, the custom resolution, mind you. And I went through it and I beat it. I beat the entire fucking Mass Effect 2 within that resolution. And resolution doesn't bother me. I mean, yeah, I know it makes things clear. It makes things sharper. I get that. But I mean, if I can see what I'm doing and I don't have a problem with what I'm seeing and what I'm doing within the game with that set resolution, I don't give a fuck about that. Doesn't bother me at all what resolution the game is at, which is why I've always found it funny when people used to always make a big deal about a game being at 900p. And not 1080p on the Xbox, and you know, and it was other games like where everybody made a big deal about Killzone Shadow Squirts' multiplayer not being the resolution that Sony promised. And everybody got all up in arms and whatever you want to call it and shit like that. Didn't that lead to like a fucking lawsuit or some shit on Sony?
I'm not sure.
Somebody can correct me in the chat with that, but
you know,
but either way,
I guess I have to admit that I'm definitely a sucker for graphics and resolution. You know, I guess
you're not the only one, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I liken that to seeing a woman. You know, the physical, physical attraction isn't everything, but it is the first thing. And so if the chick got tickle bitties and the fat ghetto booty, then yeah, I'm checking her out. Now, once I get to meet her and find out she a psycho ass bitch, then I'm gonna put it back in the case and close it.
See, that's why it's like, for me, it's like like a girl doesn't have to be extremely attractive. Like if she's got the titties, but her face is like, you know, I'll just put a bag over that. But as long as she has a personality behind it, which I look at personality as being the gameplay for me, that's what I focus on first, is the personality, which is the gameplay for me in the game. Now, her physical appearance, you know, she could be a chubby chick, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, let's be honest, chubby chicks need loving too as well. I mean, shit, I'm fat, so whatever, it's all good. But at the end of the day, I'm not saying that people shouldn't, you know, ask for better graphic fidelity. Trust me, a lot of people would do that, and I totally understand that. But I'm just letting people know, like, for the way I walk into a store or I see a game for whatever it is, like Super Lucky's Tale, right? You look at that one, first thing that comes to your mind when you look at a game like Super Lucky's Fuck, that's a game that people are like, this is some kiddie ass shit. Who the fuck's gonna play this shit? fuck this game, right? But yet the thing of it is that when you actually get in and you start digging around with that game and you start playing that game, you come to the realization that not only is the game a decent platformer, that graphic fidelity goes right out the window for that, because the gameplay makes up for it for me. At least for me, it did. Like, if you look at a game like, say, Fortnite's vastly popular, but that game looks like a child's game, right? But yet that game is like rocking on every fucking device, making billions of goddamn dollars per fucking day. Fuck you, Epic Games. But the point is that, to me, graphic fidelity like doesn't necessarily define a game. And I brought this up before, and I asked people this question before. It's like, okay, let's say Last of Us was never shown off before, right? You had no idea what that game looks like, right?
Right.
Just picture that in your head. And I think I remember asking you this question, and I said, like, now, what if Last of Us got revealed, but that game looks cel-shaded, but yet everything was the exact same thing? The gameplay played exactly the same. The story was exactly the same. The mechanics were exactly the same. Just the graphic fidelity-wise looked like a cel-shaded game. And I asked people, like, would you still play that game? Or would you still think highly of that game? I got answered with some mixed reviews on that one. I think you told me. I think you said, if I'm not mistaken, I think you said like you would be indifferent with that. I think.
Yeah, I actually, the remastered, the Last of Us remastered. One of my friends that got the
put
game,
those little filters on,
and he said, check this game out. This was before the 4K patch and all this stuff. I mean, when the game first launched, the remaster. A friend of mine said, try this game. And I said, I'm not interested in it, because it seemed like I didn't know anything about The Last of Us. I thought it was a zombie game, and my take on it was that you've seen one zombie game, you've seen them all, and then his friend was like, try it. I promise you'll like it. He says, if you don't like it, he was like, not only can you keep the copy, he said, I will even give you what you paid for it. So he said, so you can't lose, so go ahead and try it. And I ended up falling in love with it. So if he had not twisted my arm into trying The Last of Us, I wouldn't be looking forward to it to The Last of Us 2. So with that being said, if you wipe everything away and start from scratch, and it's like you said, The Last of Us 2, if it did not look the way it did and it ended up looking like some old PUBG looking shit, then no, I wouldn't have touched it.
Let me just say this about Last of Us, because this is the game that I tried. At first, when it came out, I never got a chance to play it because my original PS3 that I had at the time, right before it came out, broke. It finally bit the dust on me. And then a buddy of mine, who I know very well, I've known for years, decided to send me his. And I was able to play the PS3 version for, I want to say, about maybe just one, I think it was like a 3-hour live stream. And then that console just turned off and it never turned on again. It literally just bricked. So it wasn't until I got the PS4s when I finally got to fully fucking experience The Last of Us, and I really wanted to see why everybody loves this game so much. So I played it, and it got to that point where this is where storytelling 101 really comes into play. Now, they're like, for example, my buddy Dreadhead, he knows this game inside out. He worships the fuck out of this game. And I can totally see why. See, I used to make fun of my friend, my buddy Legend. I used to always make fun of him because he was praising and preaching and praising. This was before I played it. Then when I finally played it, and after that first, interaction, with Joel and his daughter and shit like that, that infamous beginning scene, whatever the case may be, that story, man, if you want to, this is the one thing I will say that I love about Naughty Dog. And this is why Naughty Dog is so much fucking praised. Their writing staff team over there at that fucking, at that studio, dude, is some of the best writing I've ever seen in my fucking life for a video game, hands down.
Definitely agree.
And the way Last of Us was done, the storytelling, every character you cared for that you interacted with, man, the side characters, every fucking character in that game you gave a shit about. Every moment in that game had you at the edge of your seat throughout the entirety of the fucking game. And like I said, since I only played it this generation, I can't really say it's the best game this generation because it is technically only a remaster. Bloodborne takes that from me. But like I said, The Last of Us is probably one of the best story written games I've ever played in my life.
I absolutely agree. And
words can't even describe it, man. Words can't even describe how good that game is. Because the fact is, there's a beginning, and then there's a middle, there's a conflict, and then there's that surreal ending at the end of every fucking seasonal event that goes on in that game. And the way it's done, it literally fucks with your head, man. But it's done so well. I can't even explain it, dude. It's so well thought of, man. And right now, amongst everything else, that's coming out this generation. The Last of Us 2 is the biggest game that I'm most excited for to drop on the PS4 this gen.
Absolutely. You know, and to touch on what you said, when I was playing The Last of Us in and all the chaos started happening at the beginning of the game. And then when his daughter was killed, I went to the refrigerator. I grabbed my favorite drinks, had on my house shoes, and I was like, you know, they got me right then and there, because I can definitely see something like that happening if there was some kind of outbreak here. I could definitely see something like the authorities, the military, basically trying to corral everybody in that city and not letting anybody out of the city. So basically, so they can hold them there. So probably so they can shoot a missile at the city and blow the whole city up.
Yep. Because that would definitely be the government's way of saying, "Fuck that, man. We're out. We can't contain the quarantine. Fucking like the way
exactly.
Fuck it. We'll just do it the easy way out."
So they just have the military make sure nobody escapes the city. Hold them still. That missile will be there in a couple of minutes. So moving on to things that have been going on in the last week or two. Spider-Man getting a release date and God of War getting great reviews have the Xbox in full meltdown mode. What's your take on that?
It's laughable, but at the same time, and again, shout out to Sick Humor because he talked about this on his show there this afternoon. A lot of Xbox fucking fans finally snapped into reality and started tweeting out the fucking film, man, and started talking like, "Yo, what are you doing here?" Like right now, Sony just announced 2 fucking bangers. One that's already coming out, that's coming out in the next couple of days, that has a fucking 95 Metacritic score right now, currently in its fucking to this very given day. And yet, what do you have to show for that, Microsoft? Nothing. So of course, it has all the majority of the Xbox fanatics out there fucking livid. They're pissed off. But yet the answer can be easily fucking lavished if these motherfuckers actually own the console. And I guarantee, look, let's be fucking frank on this, right? The majority of these people that are out there is bitching at Phil Spencer or bitching or trying to DC whatever they can. And I've heard some fucking ludicrous shit. Like absolute ludicrous shit, because that day when that embargo lifted, when I woke up that morning, man, yesterday morning, and I came on Twitter and all I saw was people retweeting what motherfucking Xbox were saying, dude. It was hilarious, man. Of course, I had my fucking fair moments of trolling the fucking Xbox, but I also had my fair share of moments doing sending the Sony fans as well. But there's no denying the fact that Sony right now, man, they're on their fucking A game, dude. Like I said this before, and I'll say it again. Right now, Sony is playing. Right now, Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo are playing poker right now at a table, right? Playing fucking Texas Hold'em.
Yeah.
Sony has the luck of the fucking dealer right now, getting all these amazing cards, getting fucking amazing hand after hand. Nintendo, they're just scraping by with like a fucking, you know, with an actual straight or whatever the case may be. Sony's getting the royal flushes, Nintendo's getting the straights. Microsoft is just fucking busting every time because they can't do it. And I hate saying that analogy, people, but think about it.
I think that's perfect.
Microsoft fucked up so bad to the point where fucking like they have nothing to compete with Spider-Man. They got nothing to compete with any of the crap. Even though I don't want them to make games identical to that, I want them to come up with something that can alleviate or stand for their console to make their console stand out amongst Sony. That's what they need to do. Are we actually ever going to get to that moment this generation? Yeah, more than likely, probably not. Next gen, that's you know, debatable. But right now, Sony has everything going in their corner right now. Microsoft has got nothing. They keep busting. They can't do shit. And that pile of fucking of those little chips are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, man. And pretty soon, I think, in fact, actually, after this E3, that's when they're going to be out of chips and they're going to leave that table, man. And most people are going to say, you know what, man, Microsoft, we're tired of your shit. We're tired of having to sit there and say, wait for E3 every fucking year. I'm out.
Definitely. So, speaking of, you know, Sony having all the chips at the table, you know, God of War gets a release date around the time that Sea of Thieves launches. And then Spider-Man gets a release date shortly after Sea of Thieves launches.
Yeah, that was a slap to the face. That was a slap to the face.
And then God of War gets great reviews a couple of days after the latest episode of Inside Xbox. Do you find the timing of these events suspicious?
Oh, God, no, hell, dude, I guarantee you. I mean, okay, as far as like that video that Rare put up yesterday about the content plans, that was just a coincidence. They released the video on the wrong day, I think, in my opinion. But by like, you know, after Sea of Thieves dropped and like literally, I think it was a couple days later, No, a week later, fucking Spider-Man gets his release date and shit from Game Informer. Seems a little ironic, don't you think?
Yeah.
And then God of War fucking review embargoes drop yesterday, which was the 12th. And of course, Rare just happens to drop that video about content plans, which I had no fucking clue, mind you. And that video dropped yesterday because my Twitter feed was fucking flooded with fucking people getting overly excited for fucking review score. Which, okay, to be fair, I kind of have to agree with Tony. Shout out to Tony. He's the head poncho for the Throwdown podcast.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I watch him too.
And great fucking dude. Love his show, man. And I'm always going to be a fan of that show. I do agree with him, though. He's like, he finds it a little bit concerning that right now Sony fanboys, or no, Sony fans in general, sorry, not fanboys. Sony fans are a little overexcited based on a game for a review score. You know what I mean? Like, we already knew that God of War was going to be an amazing game anyways, period. So I kind of see where he's coming from, and I kind of agree with him on that. However, there are people that are going to be generally excited because they want to see a game that they can sit there and rub in Xbox fans' faces. And to be fair, nothing's more hilarious than seeing people do that shit, because I get a kick out of that. We all do. But at the same time, it's a fucking number, dude. You're going to be playing the game regardless anyways, even if the review scores didn't come out until the day after the game launched.
Exactly. You know, and I did a live stream on that a couple of days ago that that I really didn't care what the critics had to say about this game. When I saw the very first gameplay of this game, I had my mind made up that I was going to buy it day one.
Yeah.
So they could have came out today and said that the game gets a -2 on the Metacritic score, and I still would have bought it.
Yeah, and a lot of people would have, because I mean, look what happened with Horizon, right? Like, Horizon was definitely a game that a lot of people were really excited for, and for very good reasons, mind you. And yet, when that game started, when review scores started coming in, Sony fans didn't give a fuck. They still bought the game regardless. So I think mainly a lot of people that are outside from people that are generally excited for the game. I think a lot of people are just using that more along the lines to fight, you know, just for ammunition purposes. I think a lot of people are doing that. And look, to be fair, I don't blame Sony for doing that, or Sony fans for doing that shit, because Microsoft right now, they keep fucking putting their face in the goddamn butt crack right now because they got nothing to fucking do. There's nothing going on in the Microsoft world.
No,
I mean, outside from me playing games like RoboCraft Infinity, nobody gives a fuck about that game. Nobody cares.
Exactly. You know, and to be honest, to tell you the truth, originally Horizon Zero Dawn did not appeal to me.
Ouch.
You know, metal dinosaurs and stuff like that. To me, it did not really seem original. It seems like, you know, where have I seen this at before, whether it was a movie or a TV show or whatever. So I ended up renting Horizon Zero Dawn, and the reason why is because when the PlayStation Pro was first unveiled, I said 4K. I can't wait. 4K, 4K, 4K. This is what these consoles should have been doing from the beginning of the generation. We shouldn't be just now getting to this point. So I went and bought a 4K. I bought a 65-inch Vizio 4K TV, and I bought it like 2 months before the PlayStation Pro came out because I absolutely wanted to see some games in 4K. And Horizon Zero Dawn, I felt like was the first game that truly took advantage of the power of the PlayStation.
And it was.
And at the time,
that's how they advertised it. That's exactly how they advertised it.
And at the time that it came out, it was the best looking game I had ever seen in my life. And that's more or less why I went and got the game. So I rented it, played the game for a little bit, and didn't really have any interest in going back to it. But once the game came up on sale at the PlayStation Store, because they're always having flash sales and stuff, and I ended up
for that.
Yeah, so absolutely. So I ended up, I think, buying the game for $20, and so I think that was money well spent.
Oh yeah, and like I said, I mean, like, even though I had like a couple little nitpicks here and there with Horizon, dude, like that combat in that game was fucking phenomenal, dude. Like, and to be fair, I'd rather see Guerrilla Games keep making Horizon over Killzone, because I think the Killzone series is dog shit in my opinion. I've never been a fan of that series, and I never will be a fan of fucking that series. The multiplayer has always been fucking, it tries to be better than Halo, but it sucks at doing it. Therefore, fucking Halo is always gonna have a better multiplayer component. At least for me, it does. I know some of your people in your chat or people are gonna watch this back and be like, this motherfucker dissing my fucking goddamn Killzone. Fuck this Canadian motherfucker. You know how people are, right?
Right.
But no, but me personally, dude, man, I tried to play fucking the Killzone series. I could see why people enjoy it. if you seriously think that Killzone is a great franchise, dude, man, then you must like some boring ass fucking FPS shooter games, straight up, hands down.
Well, you know, the first Killzone, I never played it. Killzone 2, I will admit that I felt like Killzone 2 was the game that demonstrated that the PS3 had more power than the Xbox 360. From a graphical standpoint, I thought Killzone 2 was the game that separated itself from the games over on the 360 platform, because I felt like from a graphical standpoint, Gears of War set the bar. I felt like Killzone 2, raised it.
Well, Killzone 2 actually, and it's funny that you brought that up too as well, because I still bring this up and I still laugh at this to this very given day. Killzone 2 was the first game that Sony showed off that they lied between their teeth with, where they showed off fucking so-called gameplay when it actually wasn't fucking gameplay. It was actually some put together fucking CG shit. And then you had Guerrilla come on and say, oh, no, that's gameplay. That's what it's going to look like on the PS3. And then a year and a half goes by, the game drops, and it looked nothing like that gameplay that we saw at all. Now, look, in defense to what Dreadhead is saying, the multiplayer, the only issue that I had with the multiplayer with that game was the controls. I thought the controls were so fucking convoluted as shit. Then eventually they came out with an update that fixed that problem or allowed you to change the controls however you want to. Once they came out with that update, I thought the multiplayer was okay. But does it come close to touching anything that like Halo 3 multiplayer? Not by a fucking long shot, people, man.
I thought the Killzone 2 multiplayer, I thought it was great. And one of the things that I really liked about the Killzone 2 multiplayer was I think it was one of the first games that I played on the PS3 that I believe had a dedicated server. So there was no, I wasn't dealing with any lag or anything like that.
Killzone 3 rectified that problem. I thought Killzone 3 was okay for a multiplayer game. Shadow Squirts, man, look, I'll be honest with everybody here. Shadowfall, I know I keep calling it Shadow Squirts, but that name just rings a bell so damn well. Killzone Shadowfall, I did have actually quite fun when I played that with Dreadhead, and shout out to Silver Sky too as well. There were moments that I had a lot of fun with that game. But I just, whenever I play, when it comes to any form of competitive shooter game, right, outside from Call of Duty, because Call of Duty is a love-hate relationship, and a lot of people will always never come out and openly admit to that. But putting that aside, between like when it comes to like games like Halo or Killzone, I never really just gelled with the multiplayer in Killzone, even though I could see what it's trying to do, and it does have potential. But when it comes to Halo, I don't know what it is with fucking Halo, dude, but every time, outside from the fourth one, because I never played the fourth Halo game, and I'm glad that I didn't, because fuck loadouts. Halo 5 is one of those games that even well, that's mainly from the controller aspect of me having better aim on the Xbox controller compared to the analog sticks being you know what I mean, side by side. I've always had more fun playing multiplayer games within the realm of the Xbox side, from OG Xbox to now. I'm not saying that there's no good multiplayer games on PlayStation. Fuck no. Like SOCOM was amazing for its own right, and back in the PS2 era, that game was phenomenal in its own right. The Last of Us, as much as I'm terrible at that multiplayer, dude, that multiplayer is the fucking bee's knees.
Oh, it is. I think that is one of the most underrated multiplayer games.
Oh, by a mile. By a fucking long shot.
In gaming, his generation or the previous. And then to add to that, I have the PlayStation Gold headphones. And so The Last of Us is one of the games that is specifically tuned for those headphones. And when you put that headphone on, oh my God, the sound that comes through, the sound of the bullets, it's incredible.
That's a drawback for me because of my hearing in my left ear. Because like there's times where people always tell me, it's like, yo, bro, why are you shouting? And I have to explain to them, like, my hearing in my left ear is not 100%. It's only about 50%. Because I've always had a hearing problem in my left ear ever since I was a baby. And then the amount of damage that was caused because I had a broken eardrum in my left ear, and nobody no matter how many specialists that I went to see can never fucking tell if it was broken or not, until I finally got fed up one day, and we went to see a different specialist, but one of the top doctor ones, and he actually found out that it was the fact that I had a broken eardrum. So since the damage was permanent, it sucks for me when it comes to games that involve around surround sound, because that's something that I could barely notice when I'm playing a game, when I wear headphones and whatever you want to call it. So that kind of sucks for me in a way, but We'll have to do, I guess, for now, I guess. But either way,
Yeah.
Uncharted 2 is multiplayer. And it's funny because I didn't really fuck with Uncharted, and I'm not really a big fan of Uncharted. Never had, never will be. Even though I did finally go through and play the second one there this generation with the Nathan Fuck collection, and also Uncharted 4 I did that in one sitting. And I thought Uncharted 4's story was pretty good. I thought it was okay. It wasn't anything amazing, but it was definitely very, very good in its own right. However, the multiplayer, when I first played Uncharted 2 on PS3 last generation, and I was playing that multiplayer was fucking incredible. Because I like the fact that you didn't have loadouts, man. You just go out there, you pick up the weapons that you find, dude, man, and get your kills that way. It was fun. I love games that advocate that, which is why I think along the lines why I praise Halo so much and not games that use loadouts. Despite COD, but COD's such an easy to pick up and play game, dude, man. Fuck that franchise. But anyways, Uncharted 4 comes out, and I shat on that multiplayer left and fucking right. But to be fair, I did have a lot of fun though when I did play with the boys when I first played it. It still is a fun game to play this very given day, but I will never ever enjoy that game as much as I did with Uncharted 2. Because Uncharted 2's multiplayer was like perfection at its finest, man. I was like, bro, if Uncharted 4 is like this, dude, man, I'm gonna be all over that shit. And sadly, it wasn't.
I never played the multiplayer on Uncharted 2. In fact, I never played an Uncharted game until I saw the trailer for Uncharted 4, where Nathan's face was laying in that mud and the flies buzzing around his face, the details of the whiskers sticking out of his chin. It was incredible. And I said, I'm going to have to, get caught up on the story. So I went to Best Buy, and they had like a triple pack of the Uncharted 1, 2, and 3. All 3 games for like $30. So I bought all 3 games and I played the campaign through. Never even bothered to touch the multiplayers. Not that I didn't want to, is that I wanted to hurry up and play those games so I can get caught up and get ready for the 4th one.
Damn. See, for me, like, because that's what I did too as well. When I was waiting to get my hands on the 4th game, I bought the Nathan Drake collection. I couldn't play the first one for whatever reason on PS4 because the game kept on crashing on me during that boat scene at the very beginning of the first game. It turned to that Jack moved Johnny, shout to him. He told me that I had to unplug my Ethernet cable and disconnect from the internet. And I'm like, that is the most idiotic thing. Fuck that, moving on. I went through the second game, and that game was one that really sets Uncharted to its new heights. And so I'm playing it and I'm going through it, and there were a lot of fun set pieces in that game, like the train, and also, and like when you're also in different areas too as well. There's a lot of great set pieces in that game, but it did nothing for me.
Right.
Because I was sitting there, I was like, okay, I understand why people like this game, but I was just trying to figure out, I guess, to why, I guess, but I think it was because the fact that I wasn't there at the time when that game was released. You know what I mean? But I'm still sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like, yeah, it could be true, but I don't know. I didn't bother playing the 3rd one, and then I went to the 4th one, and I beat that in one sitting on one full stream. It took me about 12 hours, 13 hours around there to beat it in one sitting. And I had a blast with it. I had a blast with the 4th game. Now, as far as when it comes to comparison's sakes, a lot of people give me fucking flack for this. I prefer the modern Tomb Raider games over Uncharted. Now, Uncharted for the story, yes. Gameplay wise, I prefer Tomb Raider just because Tomb Raider, I have a lot more fun with that. And look, I'm not saying that Uncharted is a bad game. Fucking far from it. I'll be delusional to think that. I just have more fun with modern Tomb Raider than I do with modern Uncharted.
Okay. No, I haven't tried any of the Tomb Raider games. So I've got about, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I got about 5, 6, 6 questions left. So I'm almost about to run out of questions. Now here comes the first conspiracy question.
Oh shit!
Do you think any of the critics who gave God of War a perfect 10 were paid off?
Do I think some of the reviewer critics were paid off? That's a very, very tough one to answer because if you were asking somebody else, fucking some people would definitely say, well, if you're asking a PlayStation fan, they would say no. If you're asking an Xbox fan, they'd be like, oh, yeah, they got paid off. They got paid off. Me personally, I can really give 2 flying fucks if they did or didn't. I really don't care because at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck what reviewers say because it's not my opinion. And that's what a review is to me. So if they want to sit there and if they did or didn't, I don't give a fuck. But if I had to choose, more than likely, probably no. Because if they did, then why did 90% of other fucking, Uncharted got a lot of 10s. The Last of Us got perfect 10s. And so many modernized Sony IPs got a lot of 10s this generation. And I find it to be a little bit weird to say that they didn't or that they actually did get paid off. But I mean, in this industry, dude, fuck, who knows at this point? But I'm definitely going to say no because I know that's what the Sony fan wants to hear. But I'm not going to say yes either because I have no evidence to back up those claims.
I'm under the impression that God of War is going to be a great game, but I'm not going to lie. If any of those critics were paid off, it would not surprise me because I think that kind of stuff runs rampant in the industry.
Yes.
And I think that I can't try to lie about it. I put out a stream where I felt journalists were paid off to give Sea of Thieves a great review because at the time that I made that live stream, it seemed like the general consensus was that it was lacking. It got boring and stuff like that. But yes, I was seeing a lot of critics give high praise to the game. So it made me wonder if any of them were paid off. I outright accused them of it. So,
I mean, there has been evidence. I remember there was videos like Kodaku have come out and actually showed evidence of like back when I think it was Dead Space. No, it was Dante's Inferno. Dante's Inferno, one of the actual writers, I think it was Steven Ditello or something like that, that actually showed, or no, it was that Brian dude that was working at Kodaku at the time, where he actually showed everybody what EA sent them for a review copy, whatever you want to call it. And they also gave him a check too as well that he burned in a fire, whatever the case would be. So there has been evidence out there of publishers doing that. And look, I think a lot of publishers do that because they want their games to sell well, whatever you want to call it, which I find to be a little bit bullshit. I'll give you an example, like Evolve. Evolve was definitely a game where a lot of the top-notch reviewers were definitely paid off. Like, look at IGN's review. The IGN give that game a fucking 9.0. Now sit back and look at the forefront. Does Evolve even consist or even come close to reaching a fucking 9.0 for that game? Fuck no. Hell no. Hell fucking no. So, I mean, look, I really don't care if they were paid off or not. Like I said, because to me, reviews are nothing more than an opinion piece. And just the majority of gamers out there, they tend to think of them as nothing more than factual because it's an actual journalist being paid from working at their fucking job to write a review. There's too many core flaws. There's too many core flaws for me to withstand to take reviews seriously. Like there's too many elements that go behind that. Like, what if that person doesn't necessarily like that genre, but they're forced to write it because fucking, it's their job. What if that person doesn't like that type of game or that genre or that franchise, and on top of that too as well, like, and I saw a video just the other day where they were basically saying that, a journalist can sit there and get frustrated at a game and that could impact what they write and what they say in their review. You know what I mean? So, like I said, me personally, I prefer to judge a game for my own ways of doing things. You know what I mean? I that's why I'm willing to go out there and explore, if that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, I'll do my own reviews, but I never attach grades, ratings, or cheeseburgers behind my fucking behind my reviews because I tend to feel that those numbers manipulate gamers into thinking that a game is bad or a game is good. Right? You know what I mean? So that's just the way I am. I'm not saying that God of War is gonna be a bad game. I'm not taking away anything against towards the game. Fuck no. We all already know that God of War is gonna be an awesome game. But I'm just saying, I'm just speaking in generality from the terminology that the aspect of that I think reviews are heavily flawed. Because there's a lot of things that people are not aware of when it comes to writing a review and whatnot. And the same thing could be for user reviews as well. And again, a review is nothing more than an opinion piece, and everyone's opinion most people can look at an opinion of being biased. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is.
I would definitely believe that because I'm a firm believer that both Sony and Microsoft have critics in their pockets. Some of them have demonstrated that in the past, not only by giving praise to their products. I've also seen or heard some of them sidestepping controversial issues too. So,
and another thing, just to throw into that equation super quickly before we move on to the next question. And Sick Humor took a cheap shot at me for this on Twitter, but I can totally get why he's saying it. But at the same time, it's something that I've always lived by. If you're going to do a review, and you leave out little small details, things that most gamers or most people would like, well, I don't care about that. To me, that is a double negative. See, I've always gone by the quote that Sherlock Holmes always said: the smallest details are always the details fucking that always break the case or always solve the case, right? And fucking, to me personally, I've always hold that to when it comes to my reviews, which is why when I tell people, it's like, look, if I'm going to review a game, I want to make sure that I see every fucking thing, and I want to mention every single thing that this game has to offer, from small details to small mechanics to bigger things, everything like that. Because the moment you leave something out like that, there will be people out there, believe it or not, that are going to be upset to them when they actually do play that game, or they play the game before they actually read a review, and they see that a reviewer or an opinion reviewer, however you want to look at it, actually leaves that kind of information out, because that does piss people off. And I happen to be in that category. And believe it or not, I'm not the only person out there that does actually like to hear about those small details. IGN and Kodaku and all them, they always write, especially Polygon, because Polygon's a fucking, I hate that company. But a majority of reviewers out there, they tend to leave out a lot of information that I feel is valuable to a customer for buying into a game. Which is why I was so adamant about fucking completing CFDs. You know what I mean? Regardless of how much time I put in the game is irrelevant. The fact is that I wanted to make sure that I left every single nook and cranny from that game for it, because I read so many reviews that left out vital information, from sunken ships to many other things too as well. They wouldn't even bother to add in their review. And to me, people fucking need to know that kind of information. And I hate reviews that leave that shit out, because to me, that is a biased, unfinished written review.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say something about the small details. I guess if I give my impression of something, I guess I'll talk about small details if I think it adds value to the experience, even if it's just cosmetics.
The cosmetics. Even though PUBG actually firmly believes that cosmetics are vital to their fucking microtransaction system, which to me is a laughing fucking joke at this point. But moving on.
Yeah. So do you plan to buy a PS5 or the Xbox 2, whatever iteration they plan to come out with?
Yes, absolutely. I always buy multiple consoles every generation, because I'm always a multi-console owner. Always have been since I was a kid, and that's never going to change. It's the gamer in me. I cannot live by just one console, even though most people would disagree with that factor, and fair enough, I can respect your opinion. But at the same time, no matter what platform I play on, I'm always going to find games that other platforms do not have.
Based on Microsoft's current state right now, my answer would be no, that I'm not going to buy the Xbox 2. They're going to have to show me something. I mean, because if I go ahead and buy the Xbox 2 day one when it comes out, I might as well be a part of that. Those Xbox activists saying wait till E3, hoping there's something great.
Right? Yeah.
So no, they got to show me something.
Absolutely. No, and like I said, I can totally respect people by that too as well. But like I said, like there's a lot of people out there that I always labeled myself as a rare breed of gamer. And I made a compelling video a long time ago on my YouTube channel called "My Brain Fucking As," or I forget what I titled it. Something about like my brain as a gamer or something like that, where I broke down my logic and I broke down and I told everybody, like, this is how I approach game. This is why I play the games that I play. You know what I mean? And a lot of people were like, "Holy shit!" And I didn't even think that. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna have to make another one of those videos, definitely, because I'm starting to meet a lot of new people that still are confuzzled by a lot of the stuff that I play. And I think that an updated video needs to happen on that. So we'll see how that goes in the future wise.
Okay. And speaking of some of the titles, that actually leads to the next question. So, wow, you must have ESP something. So
Andrew Wilkins Part 2.0.
Right. Are there any lesser known titles you're looking forward to this year? Like in my case, there are so many games coming out on the PlayStation this year. Lost in the shuffle are a lot of the smaller games. Like Shenmue 3 is definitely a day one purchase for me. I absolutely love that franchise. And Yakuza 6 is another game that interests me. Are there any lesser known titles that you're looking forward to this year?
Oh shit! If I were to actually list off every single one that at least I'm aware of, man, I'll be here all night. But before I get into that real quick, I'm going to predict something right now. Sega's doing this expo tomorrow, and they got a big announcement, and I guarantee I'm going to make this prediction right now. The big announcement they're going to show tomorrow is going to be the Shenmue 1 and 2 HD collection. I'm calling that shit right now.
I'll buy it.
If that happens, that's day one perch.
I'll buy it.
Fucking love Shenmue. going back to your question now, as far as games I'm looking forward to, that are not like are you talking about like little small titles, right? The ones that lesser known titles, is what you're saying?
I mean, you would be more or less answering this question for the chat and for the viewers,
Okay.
because I've heard you mention some of the games that you played before, and none of them I like. The majority of them I haven't heard of before, but I still, you know, still want to know a few of them.
Yeah, the three main ones that I usually get attacked for is Life of Black Tiger, Sea of Thieves, and No Man's Sky. But there's also other things too as well that I played outside from that. But the ones I'm actually looking forward to that are coming out still outside from the popular one, which I'm still going to buy the popular ones, people. So I want to make that clear. But like games like The Forest, I'm really looking forward to playing that. Fucking Divinity Original Sin 2. I have the first one and I fucking worship the first game. I still have to beat it though, but that game is so fucking incredibly good. Pillars of Eternity 2 is also dropping on consoles later this year. That's gonna be another day one perch. Jesus Christ, what else is there? Oblitz. Oblitz is one I'm also looking forward to too as well. That's going to be coming on the Xbox there down the road.
Okay.
What else is there? I'm waiting for Ghost of a Tale to fully get released. It's getting ready to leave game preview now on Xbox. Thank God. So I'm really looking forward to that game. There's way too fucking many, man. Like this, like there's a Descent coming back, which is an amazing classic series that I remember I loved back in my childhood days on DOS days and also on PS1 days. Overlord is another one that I'm also looking forward to as well, which is from the original creators of that. Dude, like, yeah, there's tons of shit. There's tons of fucking games, man. Tons of games.
Yeah, I believe it. So my next question, for the most part, is my last question. And there's been a lot of talk about, you know, in terms of units sold, that Microsoft is sputtering. They don't release numbers, so people are making a rough guess that Microsoft is sitting at about 35, 36, maybe 37 million. So there's no question that their sales are not on the level of Sony or Nintendo. And as of right now, it is a given that the Nintendo Switch will pass the Xbox in terms of units sold. My question is how long do you think it'll take for that to happen?
I know a lot of people are saying this year. I can somewhat see that maybe happening. It really depends. If Pokemon drops this year, for the holiday season, if they announce Pokemon this year at E3 and they actually release it this fall, 2018, then without a shadow of a doubt, it's going to surpass the Xbox fucking by a mile. But if Pokemon doesn't drop this year at E3 or after E3, I should say, or this holiday season, another 15 million fucking, I mean, it's possible. I mean, I'm definitely not going to say that it's not possible, but they definitely have to have another huge banger in order to really get it there, to really flush out those numbers fairly quickly. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, man. I mean, even if it sells like 2 million for the next, like, what, fucking until the end of the year, we'll have to wait and see. Eventually, it will eventually, yes. But I mean, do I see it doing it this year? Maybe. Depends on how things go.
I just don't think it can happen, because a lot of people, in my opinion, who think it will happen this year is only factoring in half of the equation, that the Nintendo Switch will have a monster year. The other half of the equation is that Microsoft has to fall flat on its face for the remainder of the year. So when you want to break some numbers down, I think Microsoft, as we said, if we give them the benefit of the doubt, they're sitting on 37 million right now. That's just to be generous with them. And I believe and if we want to be generous with the Nintendo Switch, let's say, just for the sake, you know, let's say they're sitting on 17 million. We're already halfway through April. That would mean the rest of the year, the Nintendo Switch would have to sell 20 million. And Microsoft would have to sell virtually nothing just for them to catch up to them and not pass them. And that
makes sense.
So that's 8 months to go, and you have to sell 20 million consoles over 8 months. So we're talking about 4 million a month. And when I look at the VG charts numbers, I look at those numbers every week. And Sony usually leads those numbers, and they sell about 100,000, anywhere from 60,000 to 100,000 a week in North America. They do about 300,000 a week in Europe. And so the bottom line is nobody does over 400,000 a week. So when you break those numbers down, Nintendo would have to sell, in my opinion, they would probably have to sell at least 800,000 a week for the rest of this year. And that's a tall order.
Right now, I'm looking at the weekly hardware charts on VG charts, right? Estimation purposes. March 31st, PS fucking 4 is sitting at globally wise 243,000 for that week. The Switch is 220,000 for that week, and Xbox One is 114,000 for that week. But see, you know, it's funny because like here's the thing that a lot of people fail to ever mention. And look, and I'm not trying to damage control for the lack of numbers from Microsoft. No, but I'm just pointing out the facts. Is that Microsoft has no audience in Japan, which fucking easily you can see them in numbers. Because right now in Japan, for the week of that month, 24K, right, for Microsoft for PS4 and 182. Not 1,000, 182.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those kind of numbers week in and week out over in Japan. And they're virtually non-existent over in Japan.
Yeah, in Europe right now, Sony already has it on lockdown. Microsoft is scraping by with that.
Right.
You got 95,000 compared to 28,000 in Europe for fucking Sony's favor. Now, when you look at the numbers in North America, that's where things have to be like, this is interesting. You got 81,000 in North America, but you got 72,000 for the fucking Xbox One. Microsoft is always trailing Sony in North American numbers, but from Europe to Japan, fuck no. Europe hardly putting a fucking dent into what Sony makes in Europe every month.
No, they get outsold 3-1 in Europe.
And that's the thing. A lot of people need to understand, man. Like Microsoft, and this is the biggest fuck up that Microsoft did when they first came out with the original Xbox, is they geared their console, their brand, as a North American centric box, and they kept that going ever since. And most people look at Xbox as a North American centric box. You can clearly see it in the numbers. You can clearly see it in the fucking numbers, man. Look, if you look at last generation in Japan, the Xbox 360 only sold less than 2 million. Compared to Sony, fucking 35, 40 million?
You know, last generation, it never even entered my mind to compare numbers in Japan, because I assume naturally, you know, with the PlayStation being a Japanese product coming out of Japan, I assumed that the support for the PlayStation brand was going to be immense. So I already knew right out the gate that was never going to, if a South African was to come out with a console, I would imagine that thing's going to sell like hotcakes in South Africa, you know, so.
That's funny that you say that. But you're right, though.
That's just one way of putting it. And so with that being said, that was my last question. And so I'll be ready to put a bow tie on this thing. So in closing the show, is there anything you want to add?
No, I think I'm good, man. I think I'm definitely good. And like I said, I'm honored to fucking, I love doing these 1v1s because you could focus more on a central person than have somebody else like ask a question and have like 20 people ask or give a different answer.
Absolutely. And with group chats, if somebody touches on an interesting subject and people start giving their opinions, the first person starts out answering the question directly. Then somebody cuts in and answers the question and then veers off the topic a little. And then the third person cuts in, answers the question, then he veers off the topic a little. So by the time it goes 360 degrees and it comes back around to you and you get a chance to say something, it's totally off subject. And whatever point you were going to make, you can't make it now because you've totally gone on to another subject. And that's why I am in favor of these one-on-one Q&As.
Yeah, no, I agree with you because I actually did this back on when I was on YouTube for the longest time. I did a lot of interviews with people and whatnot, and I've always favored these type of things, which is why when I brought back my series on Twitch for my Double Impact show is where I'm also bringing that back too as well. I've just been kind of lazy on that aspect. I've been lazy with live streaming anyways, man, because ever since I can't stream from my Xbox anymore, and I don't know why, it put me in a double downer. Because that's like the console that I've been mainly playing the most of over the last 2 months. And the fact that I can't stream it without using my Avery Media device really pisses me off to no fucking extent. So I still can't. I'm still puzzled by that. I still don't understand why this fucking shitbox one is not letting me to fucking stream. I can't explain it. It makes no fucking sense.
It doesn't surprise me. Just recently, I turned on my Xbox the last couple of days, and I keep getting a message informing me that I don't have enough space to install. Would you like to install it to the external? And I'm like, how the hell do I run out of space? And I haven't bought the game in months. And all I do on my Xbox is watch the ESPN app and watch YouTube. I don't even play games on my Xbox.
That is a little messed up.
How the hell do you run out of space from watching YouTube on a console? So,
right. Yeah,
but I just figured that's just part of an occasional bug that'll come out of the Xbox or any console for that matter when they go through and send updates through, adding new features, trying to fix shit. Sometimes it's one of those situations where they go 3 steps forward and 1 back. So that's just the way I looked at it. But
that makes sense.
And so, with that being said, I think that that's about going to wrap this up. I would appreciate it once this live stream concludes if you would send some links to my Twitter page of your Twitch channel and other activities you got going on through Twitter and what other outlets you're active on. So I would definitely appreciate that. So I would have some way of following you, because it was definitely a pleasure to have you here. Again, the first time I heard you and Sick Humor come together on a one-on-one podcast, it was right then and there that I knew that I wanted to do it in that format, because you two have amazing chemistry. I can listen to you and Sick Humor all day.
Yeah, Sick Humor is definitely one hell of a dude just to fucking chill with, man.
He really is, and I definitely appreciate Sick Humor. I appreciate his support. He is definitely once he got to know me, he was supporting me all the way, and I really appreciate it. I enjoy his content. I can listen to him all day. He can stream 18 times a day, and I'd listen to him all. So I definitely love his stuff. And to the chat out there, I appreciate everyone chiming in on the chat. It helped, carry things, cover some questions that I might not have had. So I definitely appreciate that. Those who like the live stream, I appreciate that. Those who watched when there was other people you could have watched that are streaming live right now, I definitely appreciate that as well. So those who haven't done it, make sure you give it a like on your way out. And make sure you check out my other stuff on YouTube. I really appreciate that. And once again, I want to thank Fatal Mephisto for being a guest on this show. He was definitely
anytime, brother, man. Anytime.
On here. I appreciate it. He's definitely someone that I wanted to get on this show from day one. I hope we can definitely do this again, because I think this live stream was absolutely fantastic.
Oh yeah, anytime, man. Anytime, dude. I wouldn't mind doing some more of these. I like doing these 1v1s, and thank you for having me, man.
Not a problem. I really appreciate it. And so to the audience out there, I also want to remind everyone that I am doing another special edition of the Lincoln Show on Monday, where my guest will be Sick Humor. I have gotten a commitment from him, and then I will still do the Lincoln Show on Thursday as I normally do, because it is the eve of the release of God of War, and I will have a guest on that night to talk about the upcoming release of God of War, because by the time my stream goes live, we will only be hours away from it. So make sure you tune into those. I really appreciate it. And so with that being said, everybody, make sure you have a good night. There's some other YouTubers that are streaming right now. You might want to check them out. And also make sure you get some gaming in before the night is over, because that's why we're all here in the first place. So,
also, I also want to make a quick shout out to as well that tonight I will be on the second episode of the Glitch podcast tonight. So that's going to be Dreadhead. He's and again, shout out to you for coming by there, buddy. I appreciate that. So yeah, I'll give you the link to that when we do go live on that there fucking link, because I think we're bouncing back between different members' channels right now.
Yeah, no doubt. I also see that Craig Harris is about to go live too.
Oh shit! All right, cool.
So, I'll definitely be bouncing back and forth between that. So do make sure you send me a link to that, and to the subscribers tonight, Dreadhead, Titanfall Princess, thank you so much for subbing. Titanfall, again, I've seen some of your stuff, and I think it's pretty good. I will definitely stay tuned in. And Dreadhead, I will definitely check your channel out. And I'm assuming it's pretty good, because if you cool with Fatal Mephisto, then I'm pretty sure your stuff is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, Dreadhead is my homie boy, man.
That is what's up. So that's gonna wrap it up, people. Thanks for tuning in. And from Fatal Mephisto and your boy Lincoln Clay, we are out.
Peace.
Later.